Welcome to the Bow Hunter Podcast. All bow hunting, all the time. Now, here's your host, editor Christian Berg.
All right, welcome back to the Bow Hunter Podcast. We are all bow hunting all the time. And today, I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, which is just around the corner. And I've got a crew of characters here with me today. That's our internal bow hunter staff. I've got social media manager Tony Genegis from the Cornhusker State out in Nebraska. Tony, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited. I think this is my first episode now, so I'm excited.
Yeah, how did we wait so long to get our social media guy on the podcast? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Honestly, this should be like the co-hosts, or should be today's guest should be the co-host, because along with Tony, we've got a digital editor. No, I take that back. Senior digital editor Drew Pellman. Drew, what's going on?
Hey, Christian, good to be here. It's been a while since I've been on one of these. I think I was your assistant editor back in the day last time I was doing this with you.
Well, let's go down memory lane for a minute here. Now, how many years have you been with Outdoor Sportsman Group now?
Well, it'll be 15 years in March, so the time has really flown. I've done digital for about 7 or 8 years now.
Oh my gosh! So
yeah.
I hired you in 2010.
2011, March of 2011.
2011, and you were the associate editor at Peterson's Bow Hunting, and you did such a great job that they poached you for digital, and that pissed me off, and I'm still not over it.
Yeah, it's weird. Who would have thought that the world would have come around to the digital age, huh?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it looks like a pretty good move, doesn't it?
Gosh, no, I just haven't been doing this for so long, 15 years later.
Yeah, you guys are the young guns. You know, we got digital and social, and that's where it's at nowadays. Of course, social media, Tony, that's the worst place to be right now if you're not killing 150s or better, because everybody else in the whole world is.
Yeah, you don't want to be scrolling your feed right now and comparing sizes for sure. So.
No. So anyway, we've all been out hunting, and just seems like a good time to do a little bit of a deer season and rut recap. Again, as I said at the beginning, coming in on Thanksgiving, the main rut is kind of over where I'm at in Pennsylvania. I don't want to say completely over, because there's still some does, I'm sure, that haven't been bred, and you know, they're going to cycle back in, and then these yearlings or these fawns, you know, that were some of these deer are going to come in December in the secondary rut. But I mean, heck, rifle season's only like 9 days away now, so it's everything's changing fast. And I was telling you, Tony, like last night I went out and there were 30 deer on the cut cornfield. When I got back to my truck, I didn't see anything in the woods. They're getting back on food pretty heavy where I'm at. What are you seeing out in Nebraska and Kansas where you're hunting?
Yeah, we're definitely in lockdown right now. I've been after a few big ones in Kansas after I shot my Nebraska buck, and most of my cameras have gone dead last 3 days. I'm getting a couple midday with their mouths open, so they're chasing, but I'm seeing groups of does. Just this morning, I got photos of 4 or 5 does grouped together, which is a pretty good indicator it's winding down. Looks like we have some cold weather coming next week, so I think that's either going to push the bucks to start packing on the pounds, or hopefully, if they break off their does, they'll go cruising for at least one more, and they'll be walking all day. So be interesting to see what happens here at the end of the week.
Well, it's not unusual for deer to be chasing pretty hard, even on opening day of rifle, which pisses me off, because I hear stories, Drew, from other hunters and gun season. You know, you hear about like opening day where they're like, yeah, you know, the sun came up and this big buck, you know, was chasing these does all over this hillside, and I shot him at 170 with my 270.
Yeah.
and I'm like, screw you, man. I tell you what, whatever. It
Yeah.
happens, but I'm just feeling a little bitter right now because I'm sitting on my Pennsylvania buck tag. What about you, Pellman?
I'm also sitting on a Pennsylvania buck tag too, and I'd say for the last 2 or 3 years, what you just described is what I've seen on the opening day of rifle season. You look up on the hillside of the mountain, and you do see some chasing. So I don't I don't know if it's just a wrong place, wrong time the last couple of years, or if there's something to that. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. We're supposed to have that kind of activity. We're supposed to see that as bow hunters.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be done by the time rifle season comes in, right?
You guys
Yeah,
are complaining. My rifle season started a week ago, so they've been hitting it perfectly. Yeah, it's pretty rough out here with that. If you're a bow hunter, so
So are you wearing orange out in the tree?
I'm not. I've been hunting Kansas, which doesn't start till December. So I got my deer shot the morning before rifle season started last Friday. So
I mean, I hate to break it to you because you're on with two Pennsylvania guys. Neither one of us feels the least bit sorry for you about anything, Jenny.
yeah,
Because you killed an ice buck in Nebraska, and you're trying to downplay it and tell me it's not that great. Your average buck in Nebraska is a very, very nice buck in Pennsylvania. You
yeah.
do
I'm
realize
not
that.
complaining about the size out here, but I definitely am with you guys. And don't. It seems like the rut's getting later every year, at least by a week, and the rifle season here is like prime time. So I'm just lucky I killed one before that and didn't have to duck for cover while I'm out there sitting in a tree.
Well, I mean, honestly, like if I had to sum up my whole season, now I did hunt in Ohio recently and I killed a buck out there. Not a giant buck, but a good buck. And even there though, I killed that on the 5th day of hunting. I never saw a chase the whole time. I saw bucks cruising, but I never saw a buck chasing a doe. I never saw a buck chasing a doe the entire season here in Pennsylvania. I saw a few nice deer. I got to full draw one morning at 27 yards and I couldn't get the shot off and then he left. It's I haven't had a lot of excitement in the woods, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Elman, have you had excitement?
Nah, again, we probably hunt what 90 minutes apart, if that. So a lot of the scenarios that you're describing is exactly what I've seen as well. My only chase experience so far in the fall of 2025 was in Wyoming, of all places. I shot a buck with a rifle on November 5th. I was on a hunt with my other title here, North American Whitetail, and that, and I wouldn't even say they were chasing out there. They were following, they were cruising, but I mean, it felt early. But we finally caught up to one out there, and that's been my one kill of the fall so far. I thought we were early there, but the other thing about that is November 5th. Everybody wants to talk about that first week in November, back east here, and so I don't know what we were doing in that magical November 7th date here in Pennsylvania because I wasn't here for it. But yeah, I felt like I was early there, and now I don't know if we're late. I'm not sure what's going on. It's kind of been a weird year.
I don't think you missed much November 7th and 8th. It was like lockdown in Ohio. I was in Ohio from the 6th. I started hunting in Ohio on the 6th and I killed on the 10th. And did I really didn't see a ton of deer activity. I saw a lot of younger bucks cruising, not that many mature does. And I really feel like they were pretty much locked down. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know, man. But yeah, I am frustrated right now because I was telling Tony, I had a shooter on one of my cameras at 3:32 yesterday afternoon, and I was hunting at 3:32 yesterday afternoon, but not in that stand. So
Right.
that's how that goes.
well,
Yeah.
I used to. If you would have asked me 2 years ago what my favorite day of the year was, I would have told you either November 7th, 8th, or 9th. And now I've kind of moved that to November 17th. It just seems like the later November is better. We really never got a cold front this year either. We got one day that was like a high of 45, and it didn't really seem to matter. Otherwise, it's been high in the low 60s, pretty steady, which I find that the steady weather is actually better for chasing. But for whatever reason, I'm with you, Christian. I never had a chasing buck in Nebraska. I never saw any chasing. I shot my deer. He was just in some CRP walking through it and happened to walk right to me. Just the right setup at the right time. But I never once had a little buck chase a doe by me or anything. I was seeing multiple doe fawn pairs still together. It was like the rut wasn't even thinking about going, and that was a week ago. Now in Kansas, I've seen some chasing the last 3 or 4 days, which again, right in that November 17th range. So I don't know what's going on, but it just seems like everything around me here in Nebraska and Kansas is at least a week to 10 days later of the last couple of years.
Well, I think the last week of October is actually the best in Pennsylvania. I've thought that for a long time. And it's funny because we ran an article in our February winter special that's just coming out by Gene Wenzel. And one of the things that he says, it's just a collection of like whitetail wisdom from Gene that he's gathered over his many decades of hunting. And he believes that, like, that pre-rut period, that I would describe that as late pre-rut, as you head into Halloween, like just shortly before the does come in. He used a phrase that I thought was pretty good. He said the best time to kill a mature buck is the pre-rut, when the does smell right but don't feel right.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I think that's true, because once November hits and the does start coming in, now, yeah, I mean, that's a great time to hunt too, of course, but it's more unpredictable. It seems like that late October, all the big bucks are moving more regularly. And then once they start to hook up, it's just catch as catch can. If you're in the right place at the right time, you might have a great hunt. A lot of times you might have a bunch of really relatively slow hunts, which is what it sounds like a lot of us experienced.
Yeah. Well, November, I think, is just exciting because you never know what might be chasing a doe next to you. But as far as bigger deer and patterning and actually having, like, you can watch a deer and figure out what he's doing, or you're hunting over a scrape, late October is hard to beat. Maybe late season when they're getting cold and have to come to food in the daylight would be the only easier time, or a summer pattern. But as far as this time of year, yeah, late October, if you can, especially if you can get a cold front late October and those leaves are falling in those scrapes, it's pretty hard to beat that time of year. But I think November, it just gets the stigma of being the best just because it's more exciting. The bucks are out with the does somewhere. Just is he gonna chase or bring her by my stand?
Yeah, well, tell me about your Nebraska buck. What'd you say, November 4th?
No, it was a week ago, so it'll be like the 13th ish, whatever the Friday before rifle season opened here. Yeah, I don't run cameras in Nebraska, so
Wait a second. Wait a second. Look
yeah, I
at
think
my
a picture
counter.
of
No, I was going to say, don't tell me you shot a buck on Friday the 13th,
maybe.
but no, you didn't.
No, whatever day Friday was.
Friday the 14th.
Okay, I was
going to say, nobody shoots a buck on Friday the 13th, man. That's not lucky.
No,
Friday the 14th.
I was having a really rough season. I had one decent buck early October, working a scrape under me, and that was the only halfway decent deer I've seen. I didn't know if there was a shooter buck on this property, honestly, and I was sitting as far back in there as I can get across a couple of river channels, and I have a big cedar tree that kind of overlooks like a half a mile stretch of CRP, and I was sitting there. It was getting to be, actually, we were going to do this podcast that day, I believe. And
yeah, we were, and you canceled on me because you killed a deer.
Well, I was getting ready to start packing up and come down the tree so I can come do this podcast. And I looked at my phone, checked the time, and looked up, and I saw a deer body behind a Russian olive tree. And there's a couple does walked through earlier, and I could just tell this body was way bigger, looked like a cow standing out there. So I got my binos, and the sun just peeked over the trees. He lifted his head up, and there was just like spotlighting his antlers out there, and he just looked massive coming across. Luckily, I had about 200 yards of him coming right at me to calm myself down, so I didn't freak out and ruin the shot. So I literally had to like look at the ground and be like, "You need to breathe. You need to calm down. You can get excited after you shoot him." And so it gave me time to calm down, which is good. He came in. He was going to go north of me, and so I had everything arranged over there as normally where they go. And for whatever reason, he stopped at about 35 yards behind some trees. Smelled. He was still upwind. I don't know what he smelled, but it made him go south. And so he started going south of me. So I had to hurry up and range this little baby cedar tree out there, and it was at 30 yards, and he was well inside that when he came by. I had a little opening in the trees. I had to stop him right there, and I shot him broadside at 20 yards, and put the broadhead right across the top of his heart and cut pretty much every pump. And he ran 15 yards and piled up in the wide open. So about as picture perfect, honestly, as you could have made it. Yeah, it was a great deer, big 5x4, 23-inch spread. I think he taped out at mid 50s. So all you can ask for out there.
Jenna just likes to think he's a Western guy, Pellman, the way he describes his 9-point buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 point. No, 9 point
Yeah,
doesn't make sense because like which side has what?
Well, which side left if you say 5x4? Which comes first, the left or the right?
Well, I don't know. The bigger one.
the bigger one has to come first, right? It's like
If it's
sports.
not,
The team
if it's
leading
not,
goes first.
it has to, if it's not standardized that the first number is the left or the right, then I don't buy into that at
Well,
all.
maybe I'm weird because if he was a 4x4, I would have just called him a 4-point. I would have said a big 4. So
Which,
no.
yeah, I saw a 4-point here in Pennsylvania this morning. He would have scored about 12 inches.
Yeah.
Total
Those ones are
score,
good.
12. Yeah, that's a
If
four-cord.
you
That's
talk
a 4-point.
4 points to two Pennsylvania bow hunters, you're talking about bucks that are not legal to shoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to know at what point in this whole process, Tony, did the thought cross your mind that, this podcast just isn't going to happen today?
Yeah. I never even thought about the podcast once that deer showed up. I found him, piled him up, walked over to him, started looking at him. And I'm like, oh crap, I better text Christian and let him know that.
He texted me, this podcast's not happening today. I just shot a deer.
I thought about doing it from the woods and not telling anybody and just like turning my phone camera and be like, oh, by the way, it's going pretty good for me right now.
I just want everybody to know too that nobody texted the digital editor, so I was sitting in here in this StreamYard waiting for the podcast at 1 o'clock. I was ready.
I called you at like 1:30, didn't I? I forgot.
Yeah, at some point I got the drift that this just wasn't going to happen.
Blame Christian. I was busy on that one.
I forgot all about.
I had a mile haul out of the trees by myself. That took me about 2 hours, 50 yards at a time.
I'm glad you said that because I was going to ask you. You mentioned you were as far back as you could get across 2 river channels. So you were a mile from the truck?
Yeah. Yep. I had to go back to my truck. I got a jet sled out of my truck, took it back. At this point, I was just in my base layers because it was 75 degrees that day, which goes to tell you this time of year, don't even look at the weather, the highs and lows. You just got to go to a tree. But so I stripped down to my base layers, put my waders back on. That's all I had on across the channel, put them in the jet sled and just hauled them out. I had to float them across the river by myself, which I don't know if you've ever floated a deer in a jet sled across a river channel, but they don't float all that great and the current kind of pushes them. So it's a bit of a nightmare.
Now, how deep was the water?
Well, it got waist deep at times. So, I mean, I was way back in there, but one trick with the jet sled, if there's anybody else listening that uses a jet sled, is to cut about a 24-inch piece of PVC pipe, untie your sled rope, thread that on there and retie it, and it gives you like a nice handlebar to grab and drag out. Works really well, doesn't dig into your hands like a rope will. So that helps a lot, but yeah, by yourself through the sand and stuff with the deer, and he's a big body deer. I was lucky to make it out alive. I was texting my buddies like, you can have my bow if I don't make it. So
well, you made it. Here we are.
Made it. Took a couple hours, and I was a sweaty mess, but
oh, that's pretty good. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
And then after that, you rescheduled the podcast for Monday. Right. And then you texted me and you're like, yeah, I can't do it on Monday. I'm going to go over to Kansas and try and go kill a deer.
Yeah, I don't know who's scheduling all these podcasts in the middle of November, but it sure gets into my schedule. But no, we had a bunch of deer show up on camera over the weekend, so I was like, I got a whole bunch of PTO I can't roll over. I think I might just burn it and see if I can't kill one, which I got dang close on Monday. So
I know you did. You sent me. You got to tell us about this hunt because you sent me a video clip, and I watched this video clip. Did he send it to you, Pelman, or is he just totally ignoring you?
No. I saw it on our social media channels, so I'm familiar with the clip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got a little flack for that, for not taking that shot, but it's
did you on? So I'm glad you did on social because I was thinking I'd have gotten an arrow away. I'm not gonna lie. I'd have thought, what'd you think, Pelman?
I know this. Nobody's going to sit there and call him an unethical bow hunter.
yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about it.
I've injured a lot of deer in my life that I'm not proud of. So this day and age, I'm kind of like I want broadside or less of a quartering away. But no, I was
He was pretty
honestly
severely quartering
I
away.
think Tony just gave himself a new nickname, Drew. Tony the Butcher Genegis.
Yeah.
He just owned up. He owned up on the Bow Hunter podcast to having wounded multiple deer that he was not
I mean,
proud
I've
of.
recovered most of them, but there's nothing worse than having to wait overnight and go track a deer the next day and just can't sleep. You feel horrible. So I am definitely of the stance too. I really don't shoot past 40 yards anymore, and I want broadside. I mean, lucky enough where I am and the properties I get to hunt, I know I'm going to have probably multiple encounters a year, so I don't push it anymore. But to each their own on that one. So.
I was reading some of the comments, and some couple of them made me smile. But the one thing I'll say about that too is we're watching the video on social media. We don't have the exact same look at it as you have.
Right. Yeah, my camera was to my left, so that quartering away looked less to the camera than it did to me. So, I mean, he was almost straight away. There was one point he turned his head, and that was about the only time I had. But anyway, this was a new property, and I had a couple sets on there that I haven't hunted yet, but I didn't have the right wind. So what I did is just there's a shelter belt along cornfield. I just found I wanted to find a cedar tree, so I love hunting out of cedar trees, but there's a elm tree in there right in the mix of all these cedars that was just perfect. I could see both sides. So I cut that up. I was only probably 10 feet up. My feet were probably 10 feet. One pair of tree steps, and I climbed on a few branches to get in there with my saddle. And I grunted all morning. I forgot my rattle antlers. I just bought a new pickup, and I was the night before, so I didn't have everything loaded in my new pickup. And one thing I forgot was my rattle antlers, which really ticked me off on the way down there. But so I started grunting. I grunted in a few little bucks. There was some chasing. I just posted a video today of that same set, a buck chasing right under my stand. But this was at about 11:30, maybe 11, middle of the day, and I grunted. About 2 minutes later, he came working the south side of the river over there, and I grunted at him again. He saw me, started tearing up a tree on the south side of the riverbank. Grunted again, snort wheezed at him. Took a lot to get him across that river channel. He came across, and he actually came downwind of me, and for whatever reason, it didn't seem to matter. And then he came back right along that shelter belt, and he got right under my tree and started ripping up the branches and scraping on the branches that I cut off that tree for shooting lanes. So at that point, he's probably maybe 4 yards from me, tearing that up on that. I mean, it's a GoPro, so it's a super wide angle. So everything you're seeing on there is like it looks further than it actually was. Gets under my tree, starts smelling my tree steps. So from my boot bottoms to his smelling, he's probably 5 feet from my boots at one point. Walks into the cornfield, checks for the grunting for the does, doesn't see anything. So he turns around, comes back under. So you can see me let down and pull back on that video. I got 6 minutes of video I had to cut down, but I drew back on him 3 times. And he walked right under me, which I've taken that shot before, that straight down shot, and it's deadly. I killed that buck I shot like that. I mean, he went 20 yards and died, but there was a bit of a.
I don't like that shot.
Yeah, there was a branch. I just
had
wasn't.
a bad experience with it.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's almost like shooting a frontal. It's not. You don't have much room, because you're going down. You're not going through the guts or across them. You're going down them, so you're going to get less. But he stepped out there to about 15 yards in that video, and you can see I had a scent wick hanging on a branch out there, and I was really hoping once he got to that point, he would turn to smell that, and that would give me that shot, or at least less of a quartering. So that's why I didn't take that shot too. Is I was drawn back on him. I'm like, all he has to do is take one step to smell that scent wick, and I'm good.
Yeah.
And he just never did. He stood there and turned and went the other way. And there was one point he was broadside, at about 20 yards. I could have shot him, but I had that big, I don't know if you look at the video again, I got a big branch right there. So I had to kind of pick up my bow and go around it. And by the time I did that, he was walking and he was in so much of these little dogwoods. I just never had a clear lane. Because again, this was a tree I never hunted. I haven't cut any shooting lanes other than in the tree itself. So this was a very much just a hanging hunt. Never been here. Didn't have really any expectations, but it was a great hunt. Lots of deer moving, chasing in there. But yeah, he just never presented that shot. And a younger me probably would have taken that shot. And I have taken that shot in my life. And again, couldn't find the deer till late the next afternoon. So it was kind of a live and learn moment at that point, and I decided not to do that again. But yes, the comments on Facebook and Instagram are they're about 50-50, half in my favor saying respect, and the other half being like, you're insane, why didn't you just shoot it? But so
Social media, I mean, as our social media guy, Tony, how about a little commentary on social media? If you take the shot, you're horrible for taking the shot, and if you don't take the shot, then you're horrible because you didn't take the shot.
that's exactly right. Yep, you're not going to please anybody, so I'll just do whatever I want to do, and that's how I'm going to do it. So, but it was pretty intense. It was an intense 6 minutes of that deer messing around, and you can hear him grunting in the video, real deep grunt. He was an old pot-belly deer too, so he's still out there. I got him on camera last night, so hopefully, I think I might try again tomorrow.
All right, let's take a quick break and share a word from a sponsor. Bow hunters, if you live for the hunt, you know it's about more than the gear. It's about the community. The Archery and Bow Hunting Super Show, January 9 and 10 in Indianapolis, brings that community together. Get a first look at the newest bows, arrows, and hunting gear. Learn from the pros and swap stories with hunters who share your passion. January 9th and 10th in Indianapolis. The gear, the knowledge, the people, all in one place for the first time ever. Don't miss it. Get your tickets and more information today at archerytrade.org/Super Show. I'm looking forward to being there, and I hope to see you as well. Check it out.
No matter where your pursuits take you, no matter the quarry, there's always an element of chance.
Deer.
But skill is more reliable than luck.
I feel like we're in a pretty good position. We're just gonna have to wait.
The most trusted archery authority, Bowhunter TV. Watch now on Outdoor Channel, Sportsman Channel, and My Outdoor TV.
Yeah, we just got nothing but old pot-belly deer running around here in Pennsylvania, huh, Drew?
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. And the problem is, the ones you do have, boy, if I could see them in the daylight, that'd be awesome. Because I sure have seen them on camera plenty of times.
So you shot both of the, or your Nebraska deer rather. I know you said you were saddle hunting in Kansas. You shot your Nebraska buck out of a saddle or a stand, Tony?
No, this was a stand. It's been in this tree for probably 10 years. It's been really good to me. I've killed quite a few decent deer out of it. Probably my favorite spot to sit. I don't ever sit into it until late October. I save it until then. These bucks chase these does into this CRP, and that's where they hold these does down. And so there'll be bucks holding in there, and there'll be bucks cruising through that grass to try and steal a doe. So I've seen a lot of big deer out of that stand. It'd be a fantastic rifle stand, because if I could, I've hunted that stand a lot during Nebraska rifle season, and if I was a rifle hunter, I'd have a lot more really, really big deer on my wall in that stand. But lots of those sitting out there at 90, 100 yards that just never came close. It's just like a lone cedar on a bunch of CRP, so the chance of them walking right by you is pretty low. But there's a lot of deer out there.
So you don't rifle hunt at all?
No, not really. No, I mean, I've shot a couple things with a rifle, but I don't know, just doesn't do it for me much. So,
what do you think, Pellman? You shot your deer with a rifle. You going to take that from Genesis?
You know what? I will take it, and I'll tell you why.
Because this is a bow hunter podcast?
Yeah.
Well, for that, and I I agree with him. It just feels different when you shoot him with a bow, when you can get him close inside the 30-yard marker and have to draw and do everything right. It just, when it's successful, it just feels different. That's for sure. But on the other side of things, when you go, what did we say? 15, this is my 15th year, close to 15 years in the industry. And you watch all your colleagues post these huge bucks with rifles. The last year and a half, I've been able to firearms hunt on North America whitetail. That's been pretty fun too, I got to admit.
Yeah.
The problem here in Pennsylvania is every year I used to be like the same as Tony, but in more recent years, after these hard, challenging archery seasons, I've almost enjoyed getting out a little bit with the rifle, even if it's just shooting some does, but always hoping like, all right, the rifle will be the great equalizer. And I couldn't kill any of these nice deer that I had on my camera with my bow, but I'll get one, with the rifle. And then I still don't get one with the rifle. So then I just, instead of getting revenge, it just makes me feel all the worse about myself.
You say maybe the weapon's not the issue in that scenario.
Thanks.
Yeah. I do like getting out the muzzleloader late December. It's a nice change of pace. Like it's almost like bow hunting. You got to get them close, 180 yards at what I try to tend to. But you get out of the tree and you get to track through the snow some, and it's a nice change of pace sometimes. So I'll go doe hunting like that in December sometimes. But yeah, I mean, I get such bad adrenaline dumps after I shoot a buck with a bow. Like last year, I had to. Maybe it was 2 years ago anyway. I shot one. I was like on the phone with my dad, telling him I shot one. I'm like, I got to climb out of this tree and sit on the ground. I don't know if I'm having a heart attack or what's happening. I couldn't feel like my arms. They just went numb. Like it was just such a bad adrenaline dump. So I just don't get that shooting with a rifle. So now there is no more efficient way to kill a deer than with a rifle. But yeah, you don't get that. At least I don't.
No, for sure.
Yeah, there's certainly some surprises too. Like for instance, in Wyoming here a couple weeks ago, we were hunting from the ground. We were stalking, and we crested a hill chasing this buck that we thought was going to be walking against a little fence row, probably 200, 225 yards away. We popped over that hill, and they were not where we're expecting. We looked down at the bottom of the hill, and there he stands 70 yards looking at us. We're like, oh boy. Yeah. So that rifle hunt turned into a more or less a 75-yard chip shot.
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna hunt with a rifle, that's how I would want to do it. I want to actively hunt. I don't want to go sit in a blind or something. But yeah, I'm not against actively hunting with a rifle.
Yeah, I had a good time doing it. Just for the simple fact of the matter is that here in Pennsylvania and back east, we don't get to hunt like that very often. So
right.
When you can spot one and go get them, that's we had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where, I mean, honestly, like you said, Drew, that's where rifle hunting really shines. When you have that kind of visibility and you can move and position yourself for the shot and take it because the animal's still out there in the open, like we just don't get an opportunity to have scenarios like that very often here. They call it pens. It's called pens.
But I guess that's how you learn it. Had a guy say every stock, whether successful or unsuccessful, you're sure going to learn something from it.
Well, it's true. It's true. And, I want to give a quick sort of recap of my Ohio hunt, but tease what we're going to talk about next. There's a really, really cool event coming up in January connected to the ATA show that I want to discuss, but wanted to share a little bit about Ohio, not so much about the actual kill, but a couple things. Tony, you had mentioned the jet sled and a little tip on that, which was cool. My tip from Ohio and just hunting in general this year is, man, get yourself an e-bike. If you aren't using an e-bike with your bow hunting, that is a really nice tool. I'm going to give another plug for an article. Ernie Power. This ties in two ways with my Ohio hunt because I shot my buck from my tethered lockdown saddle, and I used an e-bike every day on that hunt. And Ernie Power, who's one of the founding fathers of tethered, wrote an article that we just published in that February winter special called Meals on Wheels. And it's all about the advantages of e-bikes to bow hunting. And man, is that a great way to get around. I mean, it just cut, like, I didn't have long to go. I hunted the same farm my whole time. It was like from where I would park my truck, it would maybe be 500 to 800 yards to where I'd be hunting. But like when you use that e-bike and you're just there in a minute, you got no sweat and you're at the base of your tree and you're ready to go up, or you want to move to a different set and you climb down and you're on the other side of the farm in 2 minutes. That is fantastic. No, while leaving no ground scent. It's really awesome. I don't know if you have one, Tony or
I
Drew,
do,
but
yeah. I found that
yeah.
the deer don't get spooked either. Like if they see you driving through, they like if you walk down that same road and there's a deer there, they'll spook. If you drive by them on that bike, most of the time they'll just watch you. So there's that.
Yeah. Yep. They're definitely less bothered by it. I
Yeah.
mean, for sure. And the lack of the ground scent is a big deal.
Yep.
And honestly, just the fatigue factor. You know, Ernie talks about that a lot. Like he talks about like the different classes of bikes and pedal assist and stuff. Ernie's a character. He has a couple lines in that story. One of them is he's talking about pedaling and pedal assist, but he's like, but if you're like me, you didn't spend the money on the bike to pedal. I was like, that's right. That's right. The only time I'm pedaling that baby is when I'm going up a really steep hill and the motor won't do it all by itself. Yep. And if I have to help, I'll help. But otherwise, I'm just using pure throttle.
Yeah, the only time I've had to help, it's pretty flat out here, is when I got a whole bunch of corn loaded on the back of it, and I got 300 pounds on that sucker. Then maybe it takes a little pedaling, but I'm willing to pedal if I don't have to carry that much corn back and forth from my truck for half a mile.
Well, the other thing about the bikes is they have all these trailers. Like you can get a trailer on Amazon for an e-bike that it's like a 300-pound capacity for like $65 or something like that. And you can like roll out entire deer carcasses with these things. The bike that I have, it's a new one that came out this year. It's the Velatric Nomad 2X. It has 1,000-pound towing capacity. Now, I don't think it could tow that much up a hill. Maybe it could move it on flat ground, but yeah, I mean, a deer's a couple 100 pounds, you know what I mean? So and then the bike itself has like a 560-pound load rating. So you could have like my 200-pound self on there, plus you could have like a basket or saddlebags. You can carry a lot of stuff on those bikes.
Yeah, pretty handy units. The biggest thing that I found is hauling it. I haven't found a great way to haul it. The bike carriers that you're going your hitch, they're okay, and I make it work. Actually, I just started tipping it sideways and putting it in the back of my truck. But if I got a bunch of stuff back there, it gets a little difficult. But I haven't really explored much into the hauling it around. But they definitely weigh a lot more than just a regular bike to get up on a bike rack. So.
Oh, I weigh about 80 pounds.
Yeah,
I'd say. Now, I'll tell you what I use. I have from Harbor Freight. It's their aluminum motorcycle carrier. It's made for like dirt bikes and small motorcycles. It has a 400-pound weight limit.
Yep.
So it's beefy for an e-bike. It's way more than you need, but it's nice and sturdy, and it's aluminum. The carrier itself is honestly lighter than the bike. It's easy to like put on and take off by yourself, and then it's only as high as your hitch. So it has a ramp that comes with it, but I don't use the ramp because I don't need it. I lift the front wheel up and put it on the rack, and then I grab the rack, like the utility rack on the back of the bike. I just push the front tire forward and just left to lift the back end up for 2 seconds to get it onto the rack. And then I just ratchet strap it down. It works good.
I kind of have the same thing. I cut one of the rails off of that thing, so the front tire like sinks down in there. It holds it a little sturdy, so it'll stand up by itself. Um, I need to find a way to like strap the tires because sometimes going down I drive a bunch of dirt roads and it'll rattle those ratchet straps just a little loose and makes me nervous. So I need to find a way to ratchet in the tires somehow to keep it a little bit more sturdy. But yeah,
I was I was thinking about springing for a better, like a dedicated bike rack
mhm,
with the, like those arms that come up over the
right,
tires and just cradle them.
yeah.
But they're expensive.
They're super
And
expensive. I would probably go to, like, Menards or some Midwestern store and buy a piece of metal and bend it and do my own thing this summer when I'm bored someday and, make my own rig for that, but because I think if you took, like, that what you're talking about, that motorcycle hauler and just built that into the ends of it, essentially the same thing. Um,
yeah. Yeah, if I want to, yeah, I should mod it, right? And
right.
make a good social media video
There
and
you go.
article, digital article,
Yeah.
how to mod. Actually, Drew, tell me that article wouldn't do really well. How? Because that Harbor Freight motorcycle carriers, I forget how much it is, but it's not real expensive. Couple $100 maybe. And we did an article on how to turn a $200 Harbor Freight motorcycle carrier into the ultimate e-bike rack or something. That would do well.
I've got holes in the schedule. You just tell me which month you
Yeah.
want to do it.
Tony, we need to get together in person and like engineer this.
Yeah, let's do it.
The
Well,
only other thing,
you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never used an e-bike yet. I checked saddle hunting off my list this fall. I
Yeah.
guess e-bikes have to be next, but correct me if I'm wrong here. But one of the major benefits, at least in my way of thinking, would have to be when you get that deer on the ground 1 mile in, like you said, Tony, where you were packing that thing out easy.
No, because I could no way get a bike back in there. I could get a bike maybe about 300 yards, if
Got it.
that, if
I
that.
was gonna
But then,
just
so they do it
terrain
for
reasons.
they're not like a cure-all by any means, but for access down 2 tracks and made paths, then yeah, I mean, because
they
go
they,
ahead.
they really shine in farm country
Mhm.
because you can use the farm lanes, or if the fields are cut, you can zip right across the fields. It'd be really tough on Pellman Ridge eh, unless you stayed on the one road you guys have up there, right?
Right. Yeah. Got it. Yeah. We where we are obviously on top of a mountain range. You're gonna have a whole heck of a lot of rocks and stuff to deal with too. So if you get off the beaten path,
Yeah,
I can't imagine that'd be too fun of a drive.
right,
It
right.
would have made it a lot easier for you to get back to your truck, though.
No kidding.
If you would have only had to walk 300 yards to get back to your bike, you would have been back, had your sled in no time. But
Yeah,
then I guess you wouldn't have taken the bike back in. You'd have to walk back in
yeah.
because then you can't really, you don't
No,
think
like for
that bike
me,
would have dragged your deer in the sled, do you?
well, like for me to get to where I park with the truck, it's about 2 miles through some trees and things, and it scratches the heck out of your truck, and it's bumpy. So I started parking at like the gate on the main road and just taking the bike in there. Um, and so
Oh,
I mounted the rifle holders on the front handlebars that you get for like ATVs. I put them on the front, and that's where I strap my bow in, and it holds it steady. Um, and so that's how I get in there. But um, this
I
whole tour, you got to get some windproof gloves for sure and some face masks to get back in there. But it's worth it because you're not all sweaty by the time you get back in there, which makes it even colder while you're sitting.
Yes, gloves are key. And I had those cradles for like the gun holders that I did on the first bike I had. Um, but it's funny, one of my buddies actually told me that he messed up a couple of bows having it on the handlebars because he fell,
Oh no,
and he said he likes using a bow sling, and I
yeah,
switched to that this year, and it actually works better
mhm,
because you don't have to worry about the bow up there. I just use this neoprene. It's a Primos neoprene bow sling. It goes over the cams and the
yeah.
string, and I just use that now, and I
I've
actually
I've
prefer
tried it. The
that.
problem is with me, like I'm going across the river channel, so I have to pack waders in, and I have a whole bunch of stuff on my back, and I try to put a bow sling on there, and it like strangles me. So it's about my only option. I've tried some other things, but the roads back in there aren't too bad. And if I fall, that'll be my own fault, I guess. But you warned me. So
Trial and error, though. Everyone's got to come up with their own system. Just because
exactly.
one guy does it one way doesn't mean it's not right. The only other thing I'll say on that Ohio hunt that was pretty cool was that tree that I killed out of was the very first tree that I set up when I got there on Wednesday. And I had a really good hunt there that afternoon. I saw quite a few deer. It was in a really neat spot where this cut cornfield and a gas line like came out to this corner of this field, and then there was bedding areas on the other two sides. And I just like got up there that day and I was like, this just feels like a killing spot, like I feel like if I would like hunt this enough times it's going to produce. And then I ended up killing out of that on Monday morning. And it was also kind of cool because it got super cold out there. It was like in the 20s. It was snowing when I got out there that morning. And I was just like, oh man, I was like so ready to kill something. Just hunting by myself out there. And so when that buck showed up, I was like, yeah, he's going to do, like, let's do this. So put a really good shot on him. Actually used another little tidbit. Shot him with the new Speed broadheads, Titanium 100. Those things, I've killed 3 deer this fall now, 2 doe here in Pennsylvania and that buck in Ohio. I actually hit him a little further forward than I thought I was aiming, but it went right through both shoulders and actually stopped with about the last 3 inches of the arrow sticking out of him. And he snapped that off and he went about 30 yards and just dumped over. So I was pretty impressed with the Speed broadheads so far.
Yeah, I've heard some good things. I haven't tried them yet, but I've heard good things about them.
They're expensive. That's the one thing. $99 per 3.
Oof. Yeah.
What do you think of that, Pellman?
Yeah, that's on the high end, but man, if they get the performance that I'm hearing, worth every penny, right?
I mean,
you're not the first person to tell me that.
Realistically, how many broadheads are you going to go through in a season?
I'm hoping for 2 a year, pretty much. So,
yeah.
I can tell you right now, it's funny because I just went to put, I was getting ready to go out this morning. So last night I was getting the arrow that I had shot the Ohio buck with because I thought the broadhead was perfect. Because I mean, the ferrule it seemed perfect, but when I went to close it up again, one of the blades bent going through the shoulder. So it still will close, but you have to it wouldn't open properly. But if I got replacement blades, like that broadhead would be perfectly fine to go, which I imagine they'll be selling replacement blades for those things.
I was just gonna ask if they sell those.
Because the ferrule is like pristine even after punching through both shoulders. So yeah. Well, listen, guys, I got to do a quick promo and then I want to end by talking about ATA and this really cool new event that I'm going to tell everybody about right now. Bow hunters, if you live for the hunt, you know it's about more than gear. Although we've been telling you about some gear, it's about the community. The Archery and Bow Hunting Super Show, January 9th and 10th in Indianapolis, brings that community together. Get a first look at the newest bows, arrows, and hunting gear. Learn from the pros and swap stories with hunters who share your passion. January 9th and 10th in Indianapolis, the gear, the knowledge, the people, all in one place for the first time ever. Don't miss it. Tickets and information at archerytrade.org/super show. So guys, we have been going to the archery trade show for many a year, right? Every January, you can mark it down. We're going to the archery trade show and we're seeing all the new stuff. And what have been people saying for years, Pellman? How come we can't go to the ATA show, right?
Yeah, open it to the public. Open it to the public.
Nope.
So you're all finally getting your wish this year in Indianapolis, January 9th and 10th. The 7th and the 8th are the archery trade show. So Tony and Drew and I will be walking around in there on the 7th and the 8th, checking out all the new for 2026 bows and arrows and broadheads and sights and rests and decoys and you name it. But we're not the only ones who get to experience the fun this year, Tony.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see what the turnout is. I think the first couple days are just insiders only, and then the following two will be. So it'll be a nice comparison to see just how drastically different the audience sizes are. But it's an awesome show. I definitely encourage people to go out and go to it. If you live and breathe bow hunting, it's like Disneyland for you. So
Well, I did a podcast earlier today with Jeff Poole, the CEO of the ATA, and he told me that ticket sales are like way ahead of their expectations so far.
good.
So he's pretty optimistic. And the other thing that they did, which I think is smart, they brought 2 tournaments in to coincide with the show. So the Rushmore Rumble, which is an NFAA tournament that they traditionally have held out in the Dakotas, is coming to Indy this year. So he said that they have several thousand people associated with that tournament. So it'd be all the shooters, the event staff, whoever's involved in running that and everything. So that's going to bring in a bunch of extra people. And then the other thing they added is a Scholastic 3D archery tournament as well. So not only do you have the ATA show, now you've got this archery and bow hunting super show, and you've got 2 tournaments, and they've got the days before the ATA or the buyer group shows. So they've turned it into this whole week-long event, whether you're a pro shop owner, a retailer, whether you're a manufacturer, whether you're a consumer, whether you're part of the media like we are. It's like something for everybody there, including target shooting.
Yep. I just love the fact that they did this to bring some fresh blood into the show. I honestly credit the ATA show with almost every archery contact that I have. My first one was in 2012. I've been to every one since. And it's done a whole lot for myself as a bow hunter, but it's even more than that. It's done a whole lot for my career with the contacts from all the manufacturers that I made and seeing the new products up front, and cannot wait to get all the new product gear roundups posted to bowhunter.com again this year. We have a category for pretty much every product group out there, and we'll do that again. And the traffic is always good. Everybody's really excited to read all the new stuff coming out, and yeah, I'm excited to get to Indianapolis, and I hope everybody joins us too. And for the record, Indianapolis is one of the coolest cities for foodies out there too. So you'll find some good eats on the streets too.
Yeah, the food is remarkable. But I'm excited because now all my buddies want to text me during the show and say, "Go take a picture of this for me. Is it as cool as it looks?" And all them like, "Just come check it out yourself."
Yeah, but just don't try to mess with the prime reservation times at St. Elmo's, right?
Yeah, you better get it now.
You better, if you didn't make your reservations for St. Elmo's, you may not get that shrimp cocktail.
I still have not been to St. Elmo's, by the way. Drew and I were going to go last year, and it just never worked out.
But, well, I'll tell you, if you come to the show with a stuffed up head, make sure you get a shrimp cocktail because that'll take care of it.
Yeah, well, I've heard.
Yeah, that horseradish sauce will open you right up. Hey, we got to swing back to something real quick because I made a mental note and I just now reread my mental note because we're talking about new stuff and it jogged my brain. Jenna just bought a new truck.
Mm-hmm. I did.
What'd you get?
I got a GMC Sierra. I've had pretty much every truck brand up until this point, so this is the only one I haven't had yet. Figured I might go try it.
Like new to you or brandy new?
No, it's new to me. I don't buy new trucks, but it's new. It's a 22, I think. So I mean, it's only got 17,000 miles. It's a nice sand color, so it blends into the grass when I park out there.
17,000 miles. Where'd you find that, Sherry?
Oh, right here in my hometown. So Yep.
Private sale or dealer?
No, it was a dealer. Yeah, I got a smoking deal on it, I think. And I was having some issues with my other truck. I do not baby my trucks. And like you can ask my wife. She's like, you got to keep this one nice. And 2 weeks into November, it's already loaded down with all my stuff, and it's got snap crumbles on the floor already. I've owned it for 2 days, so it's like I've been happy with almost every truck I've ever had, but I'm just trying them out. So, but you go down the roads in Kansas with a truck, and your babying of truck goes out the window pretty quick.
Now that's something that people in Pennsylvania don't understand, Drew, is that Kansas mud and the way that gumbo forms. You all of a sudden get a tenth of an inch of rain and you can't go nowhere.
Nope. Yeah,
No,
you get
that
any rain
Midwest
at
is
all,
different.
you're sticking to the gravel or the limestone roads and the highways. Those are your only options, pretty much. So,
Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah.
I've been in a lot of camps over the years where we've had a pouring rain throughout the night, and you wake up in the morning, and if you're with a guide, he'll say, "Well, we had to switch plans because we'll never get back to that stand."
Yep.
Yep, for
Real thing.
sure. So what are you guys most excited to see at ATA?
Oh man,
Oh, loaded question.
I really haven't seen much for stuff that's coming. Is there have any manufacturers announced releases for ATA? I don't.
Well, Bowtech is actually so a lot of 26 bows have already been launched, as
Right.
you know. Bowtech's actually holding all their stuff for ATA.
That's smart. Yeah. So if you're a consumer, that'll be your first chance to get a hands-on version of that bow. You'll be one of the first people to see it. I mean, that's enticing in
Yeah.
itself.
That's pretty exciting too, because to me, that's what ATA used to be.
Yeah, that's what it should be.
There were product launches everywhere. So those guys doing that with Bowtech and Excalibur and stuff like that. Obviously, they've had a big 2025 with some of their new releases in 2025. Excited to see what they'll come out for this year too.
Yeah.
They made a big splash, like you said, with the Hybrid X from Excalibur this year, and I know they actually have something cool coming. I can't really say too much, but it's different. It's not like it's not the Hybrid X with a little tweak. I can just tell you it's going to be something different, something really cool. So yeah, stay tuned for that. It'll be good to see some excitement. I tell you what I'm most curious about with this consumer event being added is how much stuff is actually going to be available for purchase at the show, because that's always a big part. If you go to the Iowa Deer Classic or the Harrisburg show or any of these other shows around the country, people typically show up with a big wad of cash in their pocket and they're looking to spend. And I just wonder, with a lot of these products being relatively new, are these manufacturers going to bring in a trailer load of stuff to actually sell, or are they just going to show it to you and tell you, if you want to buy it, you'll have to wait till July when it's in stock at your local pro shop or something like that?
I bet the dealers that are at ATA would rather them say you got to wait and go buy it at a dealer, but the consumer would probably be like, well, I want to buy it now. So it's kind of a double-edged sword on that one. I don't know what they're going to do, but will be interesting to see.
I don't know, but the dynamic from going to a trade show to a consumer show in the same 4 days is going to be very interesting to see. I really hope it works out for them because, like I said, the ATA show has meant a whole lot to a lot of us over the years, and we sure wish them the best as far as this.
I would love to see it
super
get back to the point where all these major manufacturers in the industry are back at ATA, and that's where they release their products. Which, if they do this consumer stuff right, which I think they are, they could get back to that quickly.
Well, we could at least get back to the point of having all the major manufacturers there.
Right.
Even if they're not all launching, to just have their presence and get everybody together in one place, because that's the thing right now is with what ATA's been the last several years, we don't even really have the whole industry there, because there's a couple key contributors that aren't a part of it. But I heard something cool that Jeff mentioned. definitely like on the bow side of things, these companies aren't going to be selling bows right there
Right.
because they're not going to be doing setups and all that. But he mentioned that at least some of the manufacturers are going to be doing incentives to purchase if you go to this show. So in other words, let's say you want one of those new Bowtechs that just launched 2 days ago. Well, Bowtech might, it's not I don't know that this is Bowtech. I'm just making an example. They might be like, well, if you go to your local pro shop when you get home and buy one of these, you're going to get a special deal of some sort because you were here at the bow hunting super show. So, it could be anything from a discount to maybe some free accessories or whatever. But I was like, that's a great idea too, because it gives more incentive for guys to show up at this show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
So
It's going to be
anyway,
really cool to see. It's going to be really cool to see the ranges packed. If ticket sales are that far advanced, as they were expecting, you can bet that the bow ranges on the show floor are going to be packed those couple of days.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll
That'll
beef
be
them
fun
up
to
and
see.
have more this year. That would make sense.
well, or there'll be long lines to shoot certain
Yeah.
bows.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing too, because that builds some urgency, that builds some excitement when you have some crowds.
Yeah.
Like I asked Jeff too, I said, is there going to be like an event, like an after hours, like we'd have the Outtech, innovations that during the trade show, and they'll usually have, a little concert of some sort or something like that. Now, they don't have anything like that planned this year. But they're like interested in maybe cultivating that for future years, because it would be like the Friday night, because it's a Friday, Saturday consumer show. So like to get something big on a Friday night, if this thing goes well this year, that could like make it even bigger. You know what I mean?
Well, I wonder how many like influencers are going to be there. Now that it's consumer show, these booths can have an influencer there and say, "Come meet so and so," which might drive even more people to come in.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
another.
and I think bringing in the tournament is good that way too, because there'll be a bunch of pro shooters that'll be in town,
Yep.
and then most of those people have some sponsorships and stuff, and they can be in the manufacturer booths when they're not shooting.
Yeah, everything just makes sense to do this consumer portion. Then I'm excited to see the turnout. I think it's going to be big.
So are you guys planning to? I'm staying through Friday, maybe Saturday morning for sure. You guys are definitely planning to stay for not just the show, but at least part of the consumer deal.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep, for sure. I'll be there through Friday as well, and I'm not leaving till Saturday morning. So I'm definitely excited to see how everything plays out.
There's a chance everybody get ATA can meet Drew Pillman.
Yeah.
Find him on the show floor.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, one thing you do want to do, don't forget your release. Bring your release, and you can shoot every bow in the place.
Yep.
Yeah. If you do forget your release, they have releases, but they're going to be all janky because they're not going to be the one you like, and they're not going to be sized up for you, and the trigger tension isn't going to be what you're used to. So if you really want to be able to shoot the bows and evaluate what you think of them, that's a great tip from
Just
Drew.
be prepared to get checked down at the airport security like I did the first time I brought my release. They had no idea what it was. I told them it's a bow release, and they looked at me like I was speaking Latin. They had no idea what I was talking about, and it didn't turn out.
It's just a big thing I remember every year now. A couple of years ago, I had a malfunction with one of their releases sitting on a table, and I think Tony actually got some video of that somewhere.
Yeah, I have that. I'm just waiting to blackmail with you at some point. So
yeah, right. So always carry your own release and get the real feel for everything.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, that was our first podcast, the three of us together, but I don't think it should be our last.
No, wait, it's no more November. Just wait until like January, then I'm all in. So
maybe we can do one from the ATA show. What do you think?
There you go.
If we can find somewhere with a decent environment for
we'll go to
recording
St.
some
Elmo's
audio.
for a shrimp cocktail.
Yeah, but we'll definitely do an ATA recap. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should do like an end of season, something like December into December and talk about how the rest of the season played out or something.
Yeah, that's it. Because I didn't get mine. Well, so tomorrow is actually the last day of the regular archery season in Pennsylvania. And then we have a break until the Saturday after Thanksgiving. That's when rifle season starts. And then the 26th of December, the late archery season opens up.
You guys got bizarre seasons out there. So you can't hunt with a bow during rifle in
No,
Pennsylvania.
you can. You
You
can.
can.
But you have to wear an orange hat and vest.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, but yep. Anyway, all I was going to say is obviously we need to do the postseason wrap up because that's when I'll be killing my big buck, late season, since I didn't get it regular archery. Surely it's a late season buck for me this year, Drew.
100%. Same. Me too. Well, I don't know how else to say it, but just wait a few weeks. We'll have great stories for you.
Yeah, we're gonna go 3-3 in the next 30 years.
Oh boy, we've put ourselves on the hook now, gentlemen.
Yep.
All right. Well, listen, guys, thanks for finally making the time after our third time was a charm. Jenna just finally got done shooting deer and trying to shoot deer and made an hour. He did, by the way. I'll tell on you. This is the only day he could do it this week because it's the only day he didn't take off to go hunting.
Okay, I bet most of our audience is taking PTO right now, so I'm definitely not the odd one out here.
Well, I'm just saying, like we got to create some content, even though it's hunting.
Yeah, I got lots of content. We can do it from a tree. I'll put my earbuds in and whisper, but I don't know.
That is true. That is true. You've been posting a lot of good stuff. Thanks to you, actually. Are our numbers still good?
Yeah, they're insane right now. So hoping they continue like that.
Well, thank you everyone for if you're not following the Bow Hunter social media, you need to be because Tony's putting a lot of good stuff up there. So check him out. Yep. All right, guys. Thanks again. Thanks everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time on the Bow Hunter Podcast.
Thanks for downloading the Bow Hunter Podcast. All bow hunting, all the time. Pick up the latest issue of Bow Hunter magazine on your local newsstand or connect with us online at bowhunter.com.